The Olmec tribe. The Olmec were a tribe that created their civilization in Mexico, Mesoamerica, in 1200 BCE to 400 BCE during the Ice Age. They developed their own language called Mixi-Zoquin, agriculture. The Olmec civilization influenced future civilizations like the Aztecs through their farming techniques. They lived in a tropical environment which was good for farming. Located in San Lorenzo and La Venta, which had a rich soil and abundance of natural resources for growing crops. Farming started about 9,000 to 10,000 years ago, when the Olmecs made the discovery that they could plant seeds to grow food. They had floods which benefited them to grow crops such as corn, squash, sweet potatoes, peppers, beans, avocados, and cacao beans. They even had their own god for corn called the maize god. Because maize was such an important staple to the life of the Olmecs, they dedicated a god to its production. The maize god appears as a humanish figure with a stalk of corn growing out of its head. The Olmec used rivers to create trade routes and village trading centers. They would trade with neighboring tribes such as the Mokaya, which gave them access to new goods such as cacao, salt, feathers, crocodile skins, jaguar pelts, and desirable stones from Guatemala, such as jadeite and serpentine. In return, they would trade rubber and other goods. They later began to be known as the Rubber People. Olmecs had many jobs, including architects, who had a huge role in society by making canals, pyramids, and transportation systems. These new jobs allowed them to improve society and become more civilized and involved in trade. The Olmecs were most famous for their colossal heads. You're probably thinking colossal heads as in they had big heads, but they were actually statues made of stone that represent human heads sculpted from large basalt boulders. They were also known for worshipping many gods, but 8 specifically. The Olmec dragon, which represented the earth, the bird monster, which represented the skies, sun, rulership, and agriculture, the shark monster, which represented the underworld and appears as a frightening shark, the banded eye god, which was believed to control the underworld, the maize god, which represented food, the rain spirit, which represented a state of rebirth, the were-jaguar, which represented stars and the earth, and the feathered serpent, which represented a symbol of alliance, and was known as the god of united humanity. The fall of the Olmecs. There were many different theories on what caused the downfall of the Olmec Empire, from environmental changes to a theory of civil war. The first theory was that it was due to environmental causes. The Olmecs relied on a few crops, including maize, squash, and sweet potatoes. Even though they ate a healthful diet with such a small number of foods, the reliance on them made them vulnerable to climate change. A volcanic eruption, for example, may cover a region in ash or change the course of a river. This disaster would have been devastating for the Olmec people. Climate change that isn't as dramatic, like a drought, could have a significant impact on their preferred crops. Droughts led to the failure of their system of water control, leading to diminished crops. Human actions are also believed to have played a role in the culture's downfall. Fighting between the La Venta Olmecs and a number of local groups could have led to the society's decline. Social conflict is a possibility as well. Other actions, such as over-farming or deforestation for agriculture, may have also played an impact. Another theory of the fall of the Olmec Empire was a civil war happening in Mexico caused by invaders. Around 400 BC, La Venta went into decline and was eventually abandoned altogether. With the fall of La Venta came the end of classic Olmec culture. Although the descendants of the Olmecs still lived in the region, the culture itself vanished. The extensive trade networks the Olmecs had used fell apart. Jades, sculptures, and pottery that were made by the Olmecs were no longer created, which is how we know the civilization came to an end.